Hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and of course, this show isn't possible except for those that are the kind folks out there who are the brilliant individuals who make this show about tabletop RPGs possible. So, thank you very much. I thought this would be an excellent opportunity for us to segue into our normal regime where we take an extremely long, extended look at our current subject matter. And why not do that? Because as the previous weeks have shown that I am a lover of television and movies and things of that nature. And sure, we vacillate back and forth between certain subjects, but we always come back to our tabletop role-playing games. And why not do that with a show that has caught America's attention for a minimum of 9 weeks and going strong? That the television show WandaVision, the television show WandaVision has finished its air date, its run here, at least in the States, on Disney Plus after 9 episodes, and lots of speculation and hurt feelings and her fists in the air and hooray and strange storytelling and all that kind of sort of stuff. So I thought we would take a look at it. Now, of course, as you can see over here, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the show, please do not tune in, or watch the show if you can in your region and then come back, because we're going to spoil most of it. Now, a lot of the spoiler talk will both correspond with the television show and some of the information from comic book series, which have been the comic book series have been kind of cut up between different methods and different writers over different periods of time, as well as the fact that, of course, we will be taking this uh, uh, we will be taking this in terms of it's actually let's see if I can show my hair's in the way. Oh, there we go. If you want to call it a fusion dragon, sure. It's a CR23 creature. um, Anyway, guys, we are live. This is the only show on the interwebs, TriCast, over our own Discord server. If you want to join our Discord server, please join it. Go down to the Boiler Room, because that's where all the cool kids hang out. And, of course, on YouTube and Twitch. So let's get on into it. No problem, Cam. Have a great one. Thank you very much. And JK, hey, got to join in, kind of my silent partner, I suppose. Yeah. All right. So WandaVision. This was a television show that encompassed a character that, let's be honest, in the comic books and many of the Marvel characters, to be honest with you, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, were kind of at the most B list, if not C or D list. And for a long time, up until the 90s, Wanda Maximoff, better known as the Scarlet Witch, and we'll talk about the title Scarlet Witch later on in our broadcast, was she was a character with a set of abilities that were very convenient. She didn't really honestly have the best costume, and her abilities were extremely indistinct. And so as people like myself got older and were hired into Marvel Comics, they were like, well, maybe we should explain exactly what she could do. Because very early on, she just had something known as a hex power. And then it turned into like probability manipulation, but then she could like telekinetically lift things and connect with people's minds, and she had more of a transformative, transmutive power at one point, and that didn't really fit into probabilities. And eventually, there was a comic book series known as the West Coast Avengers, and Avengers franchise almost. And at one point, they were describing her abilities, and then they more or less converted it into reality manipulation. Yeah. Oh, yeah. JK. Yeah. Time change. Daylight saving time, which it it annoys me without adding the S on it. It's like you don't put on one pant, or most people don't put one pant on. You put on a pair of pants because they're attached together. It's a savings. Like it's not one saving. I don't know. I Anyway, it makes sense, but it's odd verbally. So here on Monster Monday, we're going to talk about we talk about monsters, NPCs, adversaries, a little bit of protagonists, something the player characters could play with. So on today's show, we're going to talk about the witch and the construct. Now, as regards the end of the show and regards humanity in general, we as humanity very much dislike not knowing things. We want to know that our world in all its ways is understandable to us. Things we don't understand are out of our control and unpredictable and therefore a danger to us. And so we translate that into nearly everything around us. It's why we don't like the darkness. It's why we investigate sounds that we don't understand. And as regards to this television show, when it ended, lots of people are crying foul that, like, well, how did Wanda walk away without being punished? Is she a good guy or a bad guy? Did she cause this on purpose or was it by accident? Is she the real antagonist, or was Agatha Harkness the antagonist? And is she still an Avenger? And the answer to all that is yes. Yes. Uh, Oben says you could put on a pant, but it will only cover a buttock and a genital. People will see the other half. Yeah, unless you're into that thing, like unless you're into like only covering up one genital or half a genet a genet because all the genitals might be exposed, and you figure you're being discreet by only showing half of your genital. Sure. Now, there are those who have suffered or are born with afflictions where they only need to have one pant. But in general, I'm sure that's a rare condition indeed. Although I suppose in some ways they could modify both pants and then use them as one. Hmm. Hmm. I don't know. um, all right. So the using the trope of Wanda, and in a television show, she actually gets her moniker. Now, in the other movies, before this television show aired, she was called like a mind witch, some kind of witch once or twice at a minimum, I believe. But in this show, you find out that there is an actual title known as the Scarlet Witch, a person who manipulates chaos magic. And the fear of that is that her subconscious mind has the ability to warp reality. And this makes a great character because for me, while a a person who hasn't been indoctrinated into comic books, we tend to think of like black and white. These individuals are heroes or villains, and I hope the television show goes the path of this being one of the greatest depictions of what a villain becomes, how a villain is created. We've seen lots of television and movies in our current era where we see people who make decisions that we understand. We may not agree with what they're doing with those decisions, but we understand them. WandaVision, Joker. I'd put Logan into, as far as superheroes go or comic books go, I would put Logan into that. We had a long running show, Dexter, about a serial killer killing other serial killers. So we do have The Sopranos, a Breaking Bad, and so I think WandaVision fits very neatly into that concept, where if you given the power and given the power, the influence of our subconscious mind, would we do the same things? Now, as regards the show, and this is a vague entry in explaining what WandaVision was about. Set 3 weeks after the events of Avengers Endgame, Wanda Maximoff and the Vision are living an idyllic suburban life in the town of Westview, New Jersey, trying to conceal their true identities. As they begin to enter new decades and encounter television tropes, the couple suspects that things are not as they seem. And that is extremely vague, considering the television show and the things that go on. And who wouldn't want to, after suffering lots of trauma and a pretty depressing life? I mean, really surrounded by death. The Boys, thank you. Sorry, The Boys and Doom Patrol. God, how could I forget those as well? Yeah. Omen says, you either die a hero or live long enough to become the bad guy from The Dark Knight. Yeah, live long enough, you'll see yourself become the villain. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think there's nothing wrong with being gray in our depictions of our characters and in ourselves. And I think it throws us off when we see a television show clearly about superheroes and villains where a number of the characters are in this grayish kind of like tweaking 70% something, 30% of another. No, now we're vacillating back again and coming to these conversations. And I think I love the television show because it sparked conversation. I love conversation. I just think we need to put our expectations at the door. Yeah, like Joseph Keenan says, The Boys and Doom Patrol. Yeah. Yep. The Boys. Oh my God. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Oh my God. Boy, that second season. Ooh. That show's so cringeworthy. You got to see it like through like half covered eyes. Like, oh my God, did they show that? Can you imagine what they took out of that show, man? Oh, Lurker, hey, it's been too long. Hope you're well. I am well, sir. Hope you are as well there. Glad you could join in over there on our Twitch server. I appreciate it. All right, so let's get into, since it is Monster Monday, let's get into the monster. So, and listen, we're going to talk about this all week, so I'm going to hyper focus on specific things. And one of the things that is a extremely common trope in fantasy is the idea of like the hag. But in this show, we have to let's not forget that there is another character other than Wanda that is known as the Vision, and the Vision represents technology and the unknown in that as well. Dirty. Omen's like, anything gray is associated with 50 Shades of Gray. Oh no. Sorry about that. Yeah. The idea that we're combining or there is a relationship between, this mystical, chaotic, magical creature along with who's emotional and whose power is related to their emotional state, is combined with and frankly in love with, has a relationship with someone that may not be human, has a logic to them, has a calming presence to them, is an artificial construct. And I think the two really work together. And as a matter of fact, in the comic books, they were a long-running couple for a long time. And I believe the writers who decided to do like the Avengers Disassembled, this was before the House of M. Many of you know about the House of M, where she, basically it ends with no more mutants. And there's a title known as the Decimation. And she attempts to, during the House of M, give every Marvel character their subconscious dream. Before that, there was something known as Avengers Disassembled, where she has children with Vision. And it made it, like the writers were thinking, like I was thinking at the time, how does Vision have sperm? does does Vision have that? Like, no one's bothered to ask that, you know? And yep, and it's just like, I don't know. Rickard says feels like Clark's third law could apply here. Yes, as considering what the Vision is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I would say that uh, we don't know. We know that we always talk about the Infinity Stones, and the Infinity Stones are neither yet everything that encompasses science and magic, being you know items that were created at the formation of the universe. Yeah. Yeah. It's not. Yeah, it's well, it's not that advanced technology is almost like magic. It's more like we don't understand how the technology works, so we think it is magic. Yeah, you guys are getting squirrely. And oh, legally blind lurker says, and if so, vibranium sperm. Yeah. Ouch. Yeah, it'll never die. Better wipe that up or flush it away, because it'll stay there forever, ever and ever. Uh, uh yeah. So anyway, you guys. So Wanda makes a great adversary, I think, for player characters, especially if we understand the backstory, because much like classic stories of dead spirits that can't move on, or monsters that are overcome with a bestial nature that they can't control, or a curse that they haven't been able to find a cure to. Wanda makes a great adversary because on one hand, she's completely scary, and the player characters might have to navigate through a world where you have a witch whose power is so great that they could never confront this individual face to face, at least at the power level that they are, i.e., using Dungeons and Dragons, the characters might be tier 1 or 2 level characters where they're, between first and fourth level is tier 1. I believe tier 2 is like 5 through 8 or 9. And this character clearly is a tier 4 plus, right? She's way up there. And so it may not be a matter of confronting her directly, but simply by her whims, the world and the things around her are changing, and the characters might need to navigate through it. And instead of confronting everything up front, they need to find out, maybe collect some kind of evidence as to her background and her thought processes, like the witch and warlock thoughts, and go, oh, well, this is why we're going through this nightmare phantasmagoria because of this individual. Now, the same thing could happen in, say, science fiction, in which case there could be an alien species that is able to move through or manipulate like wormholes, or holodecks, or the time-space continuum, and or step out of time and space into another world, and therefore the players may need to operate using rules that they're not used to in a three-dimensional world, where they might have to go into a fourth, fifth, sixth dimension and figure it out that way. Thinking the first thing that comes to mind is Interstellar, and Matthew McConaughey's character is in between time, and is being given a physical representation of what time would look like by an alien species, of which it is hinted that that alien species is humanity in the far, far future, communicating back in time. Uh, mm, 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 mm. I kind of agree with you there a little bit. Owen says a big difference I noticed between DC and Marvel is DC is more mystical, but Marvel is more sci-fi. And yeah, Marvel started a little bit more grounded because they came in far afterwards. And as different writers and artists have come upon things, they just mimicked different eras. For example, Green Lantern originally was a mystical character, but during the age of the atomic and chemical age, the ABC age of America, of the world, basically atomic, biological, chemical era, it became more science based. A lot of characters became far more science based, and you'll see if you look back in comic books, you'll see through the decades that a lot of the characters have changed and gotten pseudo scientific explanations for their abilities. Superman's another one, as a solar battery, et cetera, et cetera. Joseph Keenan says, "Bingo! It's the misunderstanding of technology that makes an uneducated person think it's magic." Was what Clark was saying. Yeah, and that's either we've like confronted maybe an alien species, or maybe we've confronted ourselves from people in the far future where we don't understand what they're doing, or we've created something and then we've lost the ability to understand what we've created in the first place. I think a third part of that, though, is also humanity delving into things we don't completely understand, but we're using it anyway. I would say that there's lots of technology that we use today, like nuclear power. I'm using as one example. Nanotechnology may be another one. Genetic manipulation is another one, where we are in our beginning, we're in our infancy stage of using a thing. So some of the side effects to a layperson like myself seem magical, but there is a scientific reason, despite the fact we don't understand it. Dark matter, chaos theory, things like that. We don't understand it. It doesn't mean it's not understandable. It's just that we just don't understand it. And I think WandaVision fully encapsulates that. For example, in the television show, um, Legally Blind Lurker says in Star Trek: The Next Generation, Moriarty being able to leave the holodeck broke the laws they knew. Exactly. And sometimes there might be like a confluence of sciences together that heretofore we did not know would work together, but eventually they did. Like you're talking about, Lurker, when Moriarty left the holodeck, they're just like, what? So a computer program could do that? Maybe they never thought about it, or figured, yeah, we got enough safety protocols in place, don't worry about it. And come to find out that, yeah, like Rickard says, so about monsters. All right, one of the best aspects, and I think maybe misunderstood aspects of WandaVision, was that Wanda was both consciously and subconsciously in control of the hex that she created. And some people were making the argument that, or I think erroneously thinking, well, this is all an illusion. And the deal is that it isn't, yet it is an illusion in this hex that she created. Her grief wanted to create a world in which the lives of sitcoms, the 22-minute wrap up the story where everything works out at the end, is her world and everyone is living in it. Within that world, everything is real until you leave it and it's not real any longer, although they actually did prove that everything in it was real. So despite the fact that it doesn't make any sense, or it seems like an illusion, no, everything in it was real. And I think this makes a great villain, because what a great concept for player characters to either be tossed into a realm, or they travel to a distant planet, or they're pushed off course, or they wake up one day and everything is completely different, and now the player characters must navigate their way through a realm, and confronting individuals that one or more individuals, whether there's one or more witches or spellcasters or psychics or alien entities, that don't understand what they're doing. I can imagine an alien race that we've seen this plenty of times in the Next Generation, where an alien entity doesn't know the difference between conscious and subconscious thought, or doesn't understand what a lie is, or is living in a phantasm world of their own making. And I think that's a really great idea, where the players are kind of stuck in a realm where, you know what, if we stay here, we're probably going to die, but if we get out of here, if we shut it down, the illusion will pass. Also, a character who is so chaotic, having an ally like the Vision, a completely logical construct, a piece of technology that is so advanced that it can outthink and outmaneuver you, is pretty awesome as well. I mean, it's very difficult to portray something that is smarter than yourself, but numerically there is a way to do it where an entity has the ability to circumvent the player characters by their capabilities, and I think that'd be really awesome. I mean, when the player characters are doing doing their best to throw a monkey wrench and a chaos into a world, you have this logical entity, this being that's questionable whether you think it has any sentience at all, and you know and you're wondering, like, maybe they logically it does make sense for them to be an adversary, but at the same time you actually kind of need to stop them in the first place. We often see the AI system that's like, humanity's a virus, or humanity's too chaotic. We're gonna have to take out 75% of you people, right, to let a stronger, more logical life, you know, humanity live beyond that. And does it make sense for a machine? Maybe, just maybe. Legally Blind Lurker says the monster in WandaVision was Hayward. Yeah, a little bit on the nose, but listen, I work for a bureaucracy, and it's not far off. The Hayward character, despite being like almost mustache twirly, isn't far off. And to be honest, the Hayward character, again, Hayward's character makes sense, right? We may not like that character because we're like, I like Wanda and I like Vision, boo, right? But 99% of what Hayward did made absolute sense, except for, I don't know, maybe pulling a gun on children and trying to shoot them. Now, people were making the making the argument that shooting children is terrible, and they're like, well, not if they're not real. But illusion or not, you have to be a little bit of a sociopath to like not see that children aren't children, whether you think they're real or not. They're real to they were real within that world. So yeah, but yeah, Hayward not too far off from reality, to be honest with you. Omen says, I think a lot of new technology was poorly understood back then. Like cocaine was thought child friendly and asbestos was safe. Yeah, we like to play with things real early. Yeah, cocaine was child friendly at one point. There's what's some other stuff? Meth and heroin was another one as well. Yeah, alcohol was freely given to kids as a thing to pacify them for a long time. The special milk. Rickard says, so what you're saying is that Wanda was basically taking the I'm sad, so I'll binge watch TV to the next level. Yeah. What is it? The curl up in Netflix thing, take it to the next level. And you're going to watch Netflix with me. And everyone's like, no. Yeah, exactly. Omen says, so reality bending might be okay at first, but then we see the side effects. What if you have a child character experience a night terror sleep paralysis combo with reality bending? Yeah, exactly. Maybe it's not, maybe there's no direct Wanda, but like a young person who has the power to warp reality. Is there going to be one player who's like a psychopath who's like, why don't we just kill the kid? Yeah, of course there's going to be. But for most reasonable people, the idea might be, how do we wake up a child who's bending reality, and we are physically fighting the night terrors of this child, which sounds like a great idea. I mean, there's a movie called The Cell, Jennifer Lopez, and It is a movie about going into the mind of a serial killer, and the idea is to save the child, the innocent child inside of the tortured mind of the serial killer, and the child inside of the mind of the serial killer is running away from the monster that he was turned into. And I think that idea, like the WandaVision television show, which, mind you, this has been used before, is a great idea. Why not have a dream sequence, or if you want to go technological, the players are plugged into a virtual reality, in which they don't realize they're in a virtual reality. And of course, we all know the trope is virtual reality is real, or a dream is real until you leave it. Can you die in a dream? Of course the rules are, because that's the trope, right? Of course you can die in a dream. And I think that's an awesome concept as well. Rickard says, it feels like all this subconscious reality warping might be something you can use for a cool layer effect. Oh, absolutely. Oh, hell yeah. And what a great way to mix and match things that don't make sense at first glance and make sense afterwards, right? So an example might be, you might love, like, you guys know I always bring up, like, we talk about science fiction, always bring up like mimics and displacer beasts and medusas and artificial intelligence and transhumanism, but if I wanted to bring all those elements into one thing and introduce that into a world, and of course none of those elements go together, and then, like, you guys are like, I was already there with you about the Legion thing. I was about to get to it. Those things may not make sense, and then when you get into it, you're like, oh, wait a minute, this does make sense when you realize what it's about. Like, thank you, Dead Man. But Thomas Anderson says, on the reality bending, have you looked into the Marvel character Legion? Yeah, I was really into that first season. The second one kind of lost me a little bit. That was just a personal, nothing wrong with the creator of the show, how it was done. If you really want to see mind and reality bending, oh my God, Legion is top notch. Legion is top notch for that. Oh yes, created by Noah Hawley. Yeah, very physical representations of a person's subconscious who is suffering from their and living through their own trauma over and over again. God, I love it. And you could do very minor layer effects. Like, when I say minor, they could be psychic trauma. Like, let's take the Legion example, right? There's a scene in Legion where Legion's like holding his head, and every single cabinet in the kitchen and all the dishes just explode out of the refrigerator. Everything explodes out into the room. That could absolutely be a layer effect of trying to stop whatever is happening. Maybe there's no way to stop the onslaught of demons coming after this small child, and so the players are like, we keep killing a pit fiend, but they keep coming. Like, we kill it and it keeps coming. We kill it, it keeps coming. Maybe the better thing would be to entice the child to stand up to his demons, right? Like, that's a good way to mix the mechanics of something, player characters versus big monster, and then the role playing of it. Well, there's going to be a point in time where we're going to fail against the big monster because it keeps coming back. Maybe more of them keep coming back. Maybe it keeps getting bigger and bigger. But maybe the role way to solve this really is to get the kid to stand up to the bad guy. Maybe we need to put the child up front, and we're going to stand next to him, like, yeah, you got to stay back, evil shadow demon, or something like that. Legally Blind Lurker says, running a tiny supers game. I'm reappropriating some of these ideas. Thank you in advance. Oh, no problem. Oh, hell yeah. Thank you. Yeah, Dead Man got there first. Hell yeah. Steal. That's what we're here for. This is all mind fuel, dude. That's all this show is about. And you can't get there till I am a small cog in the big machine that we all are, of the machine that is our collective consciousness. So if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have the ideas to give you. So yeah, hell yeah, steal it. Um, Deadman says that there was the TV show Legion on FX from 2017 to 2019, and here in the States, the FX shows are airing on Hulu, if I'm not mistaken. So that is a possible way to check that out. And of course, YouTube clips, find stuff like that to get an idea of how to do a um, what's surrealist, how to create a surrealistic environment. WandaVision gave us surrealism as used as sitcoms, comedy, half-hour comedy shows, and that was a surrealistic look at how to maybe place the characters into a position. Like, for example, you could have a flashback scene or an opening scene or something in your world where the players open up a door in the dungeon, whatever, starship, doesn't matter. They go into it, and maybe the world's in black and white, or instead of the players looking the way they look, they are inside the bodies of and portraying individuals in the mind or subconscious of their adversary. So let's say the child, I hate to talk about child abuse on this show because I really don't want to be a downer, but let's say the child has suffered some kind of trauma instead, okay? And a number of things have led up to it. So maybe a character becomes a demon, or a character becomes a fire that started in the house, or a character becomes a shadow or something that lives under the bed and the child is scared of it, or the child becomes a fear of heights or a bully, and the player characters are representing them, and they look at themselves like, oh shoot, I'm scared. Everything I do, I look like the demon that's scaring the child. How do I save the child but not scare the child to cause something further? And maybe so temporarily the players are playing a different role and trying to reconcile who they really are versus what they are forced to become in a different world. And it could be very temporary, you know? And I like that idea. Um, okay, going back to the chat, Thomas Anderson says, methylated additives, though are horrible for the biology, though you just look at how dangerous alcohol versus methyl alcohol or wood grain is. One is stupefying while the other is deadly and blinding. Yeah, we humans, given given a certain percentage of our population, some of us fall on the extremes of things, and there's always somebody somewhere that takes things just a little too far. A little, hey, taste this. Terrible. Hey, I dare you to guzzle it. No, I dare you. No, I dare you. And then alcohol was born, right? Let's ferment something. Boy. Anyway, Rickard Johansson says, building on the Night Terror thing, possession, where the combat is more against the layer or environment to get through to the person trapped in the center. Hell yeah! Like you can, and mind you, you can layer this in any number of ways. Maybe physical abilities are useless. Maybe this is more psychological. Like I need to not believe in it, or I need to physically fight against something while at the same time diverting my attention to persuade the person going through the night terrors to stop what they're doing, right? Like in let's go with game. Let's make this mechanical. Player characters have a bonus action to do something. Maybe you have to use your bonus action instead to use a persuasion check to get the child from not being scared, to stop the layer effects from happening, which keep compounding everyone as the silverware in the kitchen keeps getting thrown around, and getting knives and forks getting thrown into people's backs, and milk getting splashed in people's faces, and demons coming out of the woodwork to grab someone by the ankle and drag them down into hell. Right? I think that's an awesome idea to do that, and it might be a combination of physical traits like acrobatics and athletics to dodge, move, strength to keep the walls from closing in, intelligence to navigate through a maze that just happens to appear when you open up yet one more door or something. Charisma effects to convince the walls and floors and ceilings and energies that have eyes and mouths and are talking to the characters to get them to back off or something. I love it. I love it a lot. I think that's great. Um, Thomas Anderson says the small cog idea is a good though complex adversary idea, like people in a government or corporation that are unaware of the organization having its own sentience, that the people as cells in its body are unaware. That that's the problem with like large bureaucracies. Sometimes they don't one what is it? One hand doesn't understand what the other hand is doing, and so like the Hayward character, are they considered the bad guy? Hell yeah, but at the same time, they are operating under the rules at which he's a government lackey. He's the cog in the machine, and that's a very simple, easy talk about tomorrow on Trope Tuesday um, idea of the mindless bureaucrat, right? But that's a real thing, and I like the idea of using it. And like you said, maybe a corporation is like, oh, cocaine in our soda pop isn't a bad thing until you realize that it is. And then someone's like, ooh, we made a mistake. Maybe we should cover this up, which is another thing that's very common for corporations, right? So, yeah, so all of this could be happening whilst like Legally Blind is talking about playing like tiny supers. Like all of this could be happening all at the same time. And WandaVision really did that, you know? I love it. Rickard says, so the environment shifts and turns and creates adversaries. The players might have to go through like like a pagoda style dungeon. Oh yeah, every time they turn a corner, they could be encountering another adversary of their enemy's creation or from their own subconscious while navigating through this world, right? And I like that idea, especially if the players are giving you a lot of mind creative fuel to use for them. You know, I like it. Um, TA says, but making them aware breaks them out of this matrix. Okay, hold on. I got to go back a little bit. Oh, in connection to the cells in the body are unaware, but making them aware breaks them out of this matrix body of the adversary, so they can join you in fighting it or altering its direction, so it's no longer the problem. And Thomas Anderson brings up the point that in the television show in WandaVision, there were people in this town of Westview that were dominated and became players. They became characters in this story. And little by little, some of them were breaking out or by accident or on purpose, and controls being shifted around, and Vision was waking them up. And so here's where the NPCs come in, right? Maybe the players in the beginning are like, they're all involved, stupid. And then one of the players is like, wait a minute, I don't think they're actually in control. Much like the idea of killing a monster and having it turn back into an innocent human being, and the players are like, oh, shoot. You know, the lycanthropic idea is this kind of thing where, oh, it's a werewolf, kill it, kill the werewolf. It's an innocent young lady, you know. Uh, Not following you there, Omen, but I'll get to it in a minute. Uh, Thomas Anderson says basically bureaucracy being a possible life form type where individual workers are not powerful enough alone to bend reality, but when loosely networked, forming this larger life form is able to bend reality. Okay. So one way of solving it could be air quotes unplugging enough people to break the menagerie, or that might also be a possibility. Like, because mixing that with what Rickard Johansson is saying, each level of the pagoda is a new dream or sitcom style subconscious expression, and by being able to go through each level and unplug the one or more people that are in it, reduces its effects, right? So you get to it's it would be like dismantling a dungeon when you're going through it, right? Like you go through room one and you figure it out, and then room one disappears behind you because whatever is creating it disappears. You know, it's awakened and might actually be an ally against the adversaries in the future. So I like it. I like it a lot. Um, oh man. Mm-mm-mm. Oh man, don't bring up the Palm Civic coffee. Yeah, the butt weasel coffee. Yeah, yeah, we've talked about that. Oh man. Yeah, TA is like, is that the stuff the monkey stomach enzyme strips the alkalides off the outside of the bean so they can dig it out and wash it to make coffee from? Yeah, yeah, butt weasel coffee. That's humanity in a nutshell, right there. Legally Blind Lurker says, think about a reality bender in a coma and someone simply messes up their meds and let the fun begin. Yeah, I like the idea of like jumping between dreams, and maybe the player characters could, like Inception, maybe you're running a game where the players are dream warriors and they go into people's minds. Side note, there was a Dead Man, I know you know this, and Tesla, I bet you're going to come in with an uppercut. There was a television show, one season, that was based around nothing but a corporation that created a device that allowed people to go into a dream world, and they had to hire a detective and a crew of people to extricate people out of the dream world. And it was one season. One season. Um, One hint: one of the characters in it was Dennis Haysbert, I believe. Uh, One of you guys has to find it. I'm not going to look it up. One of you guys has to find it. Omens brings up. Oh, okay. Omens saying like lawful neutral are the good or bad guys doing their job, right? Like complete lawful neutral has. We can get into an alignment fight, I guess, at some other time, but meaning that a bureaucracy doesn't care about your feelings. It just cares that it is continuing the mission that it encompasses, and the machine keeps moving forward, right? You do not throw something into a cog. You don't break a cog out of the machine. And bureaucracies are very, very lawful neutral. Like it doesn't matter. There are many laws around our world that are in so-called just and democratic societies where you're like, why does that rule exist? That makes no sense. But we still apply the rule, right? Until somebody comes along and is like, yeah, we might need to change that. You know, uh, I like the idea of people being in comas or injured or drug induced or in like through injuries, drug induced. Could be trauma. It could be something like that, and all connected together. I love it. Yeah, Tesla. I like I said, I remember the show. I don't remember the title, and I want to say Dennis Haysbert was one of the individuals. I don't remember the young lady that was the detective that was hired to be in the show, but each episode was them going into the mind of someone that was severely affected by the dream machines, and it was kind of cool. Let's again, excellent premise, maybe a terrible execution for network television, but pretty good. Um, Thomas Anderson says one idea could be that hallucinogens are actually activators for reality bending and not just optical illusion tricks of the cells and chemical, thus has to be made illegal to protect reality. Ow, shit. Ooh. From being altered by hippie-minded people away from the corporate reality they are creating. Wow. Yes, the bureaucracy does not care about humans any more than we care about skin cells when we itch and start scratching, killing millions of them. To us, we're just alleviating an irritation. Yeah, and I'm going to have to clock in and be part of that machine, although I am benefiting from it somewhat. Ah, boom, you got it there. Reverie. That's the name of it. Reverie. Oh, thank you there, Tesla. Reverie. Oh man, I'm gonna have to put that on the list too, of excellent premise, terrible execution shows. Yeah, Rickard's like abort. Alignment discussion detected. Abort. Oh man, but yeah, I think you are so right. TA. Like, imagine if we did find something that could warp reality. And to us, we're like, oh, in a small effect, sure. What's the big deal? And then come to find out that, yeah, you might not want to do that. The movie Sphere comes to mind um, about a device that could warp reality through conscious and subconscious thought. And it was come to find out that humans in the future found it and must have sent it back in time. And then the main characters in the movie are like, we can't let this out because it was literally making real their subconscious fears. And even when they realized what it was, they had to then understand that it wasn't real to get away from it, understanding that at some point their subconscious would make it real anyway. So I loved it. Yeah, thank you, Dead Man. Reverie, the TV series, is an American science fiction drama television series. The series was commissioned on May 2nd, 2018. That wasn't that long ago. Why did I think it was longer than that? 2018. The first season of 10 episodes premiered May 30, 2018 on NBC. Here in the States, of course. NBC canceled the series after one season. Not a terrible series, though. I don't think it was in my opinion, it wasn't a dumpster fire. Yeah, Mara Kent, played by Sarah Shahi, is an expert in human behavior and former hostage negotiator, but left the field after a tragedy. Her former boss, Charlie Ventana, Dennis Haysbert, recruits her for a new role at the company he works for, Onera Tech. And Onera is a term used for dream. I don't know what language. Possibly Latin, I'm going to assume. A startup that has developed a technology with their Reverie program to allow individuals to enter an especially engineered, customized, and programmable dream world. Her job, to pull clients out of Reverie who want to stay there instead of returning to the real world. And combining that with Thomas Anderson's idea about the idea of this isn't a dream, this is becoming reality. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah, like Rickard said, that said very squirrely. Needs more monsters in this episode. Yeah, we need more monsters. I think. Is it in Greek? Yep, Onera equals dream in Greek. Thank you, Tesla. I figured it had a Latin Greek foundation. I'm thinking when I said Latin, I'm thinking that as well. And that's a great idea to pull like. I think before we get out of here, I think as far as adversaries go, our dreams, our fears make great adversaries themselves. The antagonist, though, being that something else is creating them. So what are a lot of our fears? Public speaking, public embarrassment, nudity, fire, snakes, spiders, predators, darkness, falling, feeling insignificant, shrinking down while things are larger than us. A lot of those things are base fears, and I think those really fit really well into the idea of monsters coming after you, especially if they're made real. And imagine a world like our own modern day world where the boogeyman under the bed, the monsters, the serial killers in the world become actual true monsters, much like a urban fantasy, and come to find out that the way to stop it is not to beat things about the head and shoulders, but to confront others who are creating this phantasmagoria into the world, whether it's a fantasy world, modern day world, or hell, even science fiction and whatnot. So I love it. I mean, hell, you could go through hyperspace, and everyone in hyperspace must be put into a chamber or take a certain drug, because if they don't, the subconscious mind might make things real on the deck of the ship as they navigate through hyperspace or something like that, a wormhole or whatever. I mean, all those things really matter. But anyway, guys, thank you so much. For those who like the show, or you would like to tell others, please like, share, subscribe, let others know about the show. And guys, everybody, have a great day. I will see thee later. Yeah, gotta work it out, man. Gotta see this through. Everybody, work those dice, because I sure am today. See ya.